Make sure it's going live. It is. Okay, you guys. So, today we're going to be talking about some angle relationships. We're going to be talking about some angle relationships, okay? So, that is not what I'm trying to look at. That is. Perfect. So, let me find my little note to make sure I don't miss any of them, because I got about 5 different ones I got to talk about. Okay, so if you have two angles, y'all can't see that, can you? If you have two angles that are attached to each other like this right here, they don't have to look exactly like that. They could look like this, right? They could look like this. If you have two angles that are attached to each other, they have a special name. It's called adjacent angles. Now, adjacent angles don't have any sort, that doesn't have anything whatsoever to do with their angle measurements. It just means that they're touching. That's all it means, okay? Like my room is adjacent to Mr. Lester's room. My room is adjacent to Miss Collier's room. That doesn't have any effect on my room other than we share a wall. That's it, right? But those special angle relationships, when angles are adjacent, sometimes they have special names, okay? Now, if you have two angles that add up to 90 degrees, like this right here, that has a special name. Two angles that add up to 90. And they don't have to be adjacent. These two are. But you could have these two angles right here that add up to 90, and they still have the same special name. Anybody know what that special name is? You have learned this before. This is just review. It's not new information. Complementary. So, when you have two that add up to 90, those are called complementary angles. Now, we're going to come back in a minute and talk about how you can remember what's what, okay? But for right now, complementary angles are angles that add up to 90. Now, what if you've got two angles that add up to 180? So like this. Now, once again, they do not have to be touching. They could be not even close to each other, but add up to 180. So like this is 120 and this is 60. Or this is 100 and this is 80, right? So what are these guys called? They're called supplementary. So some people say supplementary. Some people say supplementary. I will say supplementary because that's the way I learned it. They're both right. It's not a one's right, one's wrong. Okay, so however you say it is fine. Supplementary. Now, how can you remember it? Well, I always remember complementary. A compliment makes you feel right? If somebody gives you a compliment that makes you feel good, it makes you feel right. Compliment, right angle. Supplementary, a little different. Supple means really flexible. That's what supple means. Things that are supple are real flexible, real movable, real bendable. Cheerleaders are real flexible. Cheerleaders do the splits. When they do the splits, their legs make 180 degrees. I know that's a stretch, but that's how I remember it, all right? Now, there is another way to remember it. There's a couple more. One, some of my students like to do the P's. So complementary has one P, and they say that's like 190 degrees. Supplementary has two P's, so that's like 290 degrees. 290 degrees make 180. Okay, another way. C comes before S. 90 comes before 180. Another way to remember it. Okay? Now, If you have supplementary angles that are adjacent, like these guys right here, so they're supplementary and they're adjacent, they have a special name. And that special name is called a linear pair. Linear because they make a line. Pair because there's two. A linear pair has to be two angles. If you've got three angles that are adjacent that make a line, not a linear pair because they're not a pair. Pair means two. Okay? So, good so far? Everybody good so far? All right. Now, sometimes we have angles that are created because two lines cross. So, let's say we have this line and we have this line. We've got these two lines crossing. Do you see angles there? I'm going to number them just to make it easier for us to talk about them. We've got angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. Tell me what you know about angle 1 and angle 2's relationship to each other. They're supplementary because they make a 180. They make a line, right? So they're adjacent, which means they're a linear pair, right? So these two add up to 180. Let's make up some numbers to throw in there just to make it easier for us to look at them. So I'm going to say this is like 40 degrees, and that would make this one 140 degrees, right? Tell me what you know about angle 2 and angle 3. They are also supplementary. Y'all see that? See how they make that line? So if this one's 140, what is this one? It is also 40 degrees, right? Tell me what you know about 4 and 3. They make 180, right? So if this one's 40, what's 4? 140. Do y'all notice anything? What's congruent? 1 and 3 is congruent, and 2 and 4. So 1 and 3, and then 2 and 4 are angle pairs. They're angle pairs that have a special relationship, and they have a special name. So angle 1 and angle 3, and then separately, not together, but angle 2 and angle 4, they are what are known as vertical angles. And vertical angles are congruent to each other. Vertical angles are the angles that are made when two lines cross each other. It's the angles across from each other. Not the angles that are supplementary, but the angles that are across from each other. Does that make sense? So I had this old teacher who used to teach this vertical angle thing, and he would do this little diagram. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this drawing. He called them kiss and fish angles. Why? I have no idea. It has nothing whatsoever to do with vertical. That doesn't, like kiss and fish, vertical, doesn't mean anything. I've never seen fish kiss in the wild. I don't know what it would look like. If it would look like this, I feel like it would not, right? I don't know why he did this, but he did. He called them kiss and fish. Now, here's the important thing. Those two angles, they're congruent. But guess what? So are these two angles right here. The name vertical angle doesn't mean the angles have to be vertical. It just means the angles are across from each other when those two lines cross. Okay? Y'all follow what I'm saying? Okay. Now, I think we've covered all of our different angle pairs that we're going to talk about. So now let's put it to practice. So on Skills Practice 1.5, that's what you should have in front of you right now is Skills Practice 1.5. We have this diagram right here. And our first question says to name two acute vertical angles. Now, for us to name two acute vertical angles, the first thing that we're going to have to do is figure out what are two lines that cross each other so that we know where angles are vertical at. So what are two lines in this diagram that cross each other? So line HF and line EG. Is that what you said? Yeah. So those are two lines that cross each other, right? And they create four angles. An angle here, 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 and here, right? The question in this case was acute. What are two acute? Now, what does acute mean? Less than 90. So acute means less than 90 degrees, right? So if we're looking at that, which angles appear to be acute that are made by these lines crossing? Say that again. EKH. So angle EKH, this guy, with what? FKG. Y'all see that guy right there? Angle FKG. Notice those are acute. They are smaller than 90. How do we know that? Well, because this angle here and this angle here add up to 90. So that angle has to be less than 90. That's how we know it's acute. If that wasn't there, we wouldn't know for sure. But based on that information, we know it's acute. Does that make sense? Okay. Next question. Name a linear pair. Y'all, there are so many linear pairs in this diagram, it's not even funny. So, name a linear pair. That's two angles that add up to 180 that are adjacent. HKG, this guy, HKG, angle HKG, and what? FKG. Do y'all see that? So they're saying this one, right? And this one, right? Okay, what else? EKF. So this guy with what? With angle EKH, that guy. Or we could go the other way with it, couldn't we? So we could do EKF with FKG. So we could do angle EKF with angle FK. That's not a K. FKG. Right? Is that it, or is there more? What about FKJ? Angle FKJ doesn't have a angle to go with it. Y'all see this one right here? JKH. Angle JKH. Y'all see how we have a bunch of different options there? Y'all see that? Okay. Now, what wouldn't work is if we named this little tiny angle with any other angle. That won't be enough. It's not going to make it. Okay. So that was a linear pair. Did I skip a problem? I did, didn't I? Okay, so we messed up and I forgot to name two obtuse vertical angles. So this was us naming the acute ones. These two. What would the obtuse ones be? So it'd be EKF, angle EKF, and then what's vertical to that? HKG, angle HKG, this guy. Right? Okay, so that was obtuse. We did linear pair. What's our next thing it's asking for? Acute adjacent angles. So two acute adjacent angles. And once again, there could be more than one answer here. Acute adjacent means smaller than 90. That just means they're each individually smaller than 90. And adjacent means they touch. Okay, so what do we have that's acute and adjacent? FKG and GKH. K, J. I have the hardest time with J and G being in the same diagram. In my brain processing which is a J and which is a G. Anybody else have issues with that? Is that just me? Just me? Okay. Okay. Are there any other options here? Is that it? There's only one other acute angle in the whole thing, right? This is the only other acute angle, and it's not adjacent to anything. So these are the only two right here. All right, what's our next question? What are we looking for? Complementary to EKH. So EKH is this guy, right? And we want to know what is complementary. Now, what does complementary mean? Equals 90. So that means they add up to 90 degrees, right? Now, they do not have to be adjacent to add up to 90, right? We don't have any angle measurements, or do we? Do we have any angle measurements? There's one thing on this diagram that indicates an angle. What's that? This little square tells us what? Those are 90 degrees together, right? We know that angle FKG plus angle GKJ equal 90 degrees. We know that. But that's not this angle. But what do I know about this angle? Angle FKG is congruent to angle EKH. How do we know they're congruent? What's the reason we know? What kind of angles are they? They're vertical angles, right? Kiss and fish. Vertical angles. Them being vertical angles is what lets us know that they're congruent. So if they're congruent, and this guy add up to 90, guess what we know about angle GKJ and angle EKH? They add up to 92, right? So when our question says name an angle that's complementary to angle EKH, our answer is going to be angle GKJ. Y'all see it? All right, what's our next question? Supplementary. So we're looking for supplementary to FKG. Now, what does supplementary mean? Supplementary. What? Supplementary to angle FKG. And that means they have to add up to 180, right? So FKG. This is my angle right here that I'm looking at. So what is supplementary to that? HKG. So angle HKG. HKG. Is that the only answer? Or we could go the other way and do angle EKF. Y'all see that here? This guy? So we could do that angle, or we could do this angle. Either one. Everybody see it? Okay, we're going to skip 7 and 8. We're going to come back to them if time permits. We're going to skip them for right now. We're going to look at number 9. So on number 9, it says, if the measure of angle RTS is 8x plus 18, let me get this up here where y'all can see it. 8x plus 18, RTS, 8x plus 18, right? And then it says if the ray TR, it has this symbol, to ray TS. Now, you've seen this symbol before, but not this year. Does anybody remember what that symbol means? What'd you say? Not supplementary. This right here. This guy. That little T. It has to do with lines. Huh? I will tell you it starts with a P. perpendicular. This little thing right here, did you say it?
I said it.
I totally didn't hear you. I'll give you props though. Lance said that. I just didn't hear him. So he didn't get credit for it, but now I'm going to give Lance credit for answering that correctly. Lance is the one who said perpendicular first. Okay, are you good now? Oh, I'm so sorry. Taylor also said it, but Taylor doesn't talk loudly enough that I even know she's answered questions. So therefore, I never know if Taylor has something right. Okay. Are we good now? Everybody got the credit that they wanted? Huh? Oh. So Esteban is the person I actually heard answer it, and he was right. And then it turned into this. Well, I said it first. Well, now we all know that there were lots of people who answered the question, but only one person did I hear, and that was Esteban. Good job, Esteban, for answering out loud. Okay. All right. So, what does perpendicular mean, y'all? What's it mean?
Where two lines intersect.
At 90 degrees. So, it's very specific. They have to intersect at 90 degrees. So, if TR and RS intersect at 90 degrees, what does that tell us about this angle RTS? It equals 90 degrees. So then we can just set up us a little equation and solve it to find the value for x. How do we solve that? Minus 18. So we've got 8x equals 90 minus 20 would be 70, but plus 2 back would be 72, right? And then divide by 8. And what's x? 9? And that's our answer, because it just asked for x. It didn't ask for anything else. It just said, what's x? Y'all see how that works? That all depended on us knowing that perpendicular means 90. Okay? All right, our next question says, if PTQ is 3y minus 10. Y'all see how I'm labeling in there? If you have more than one problem with the same diagram, you may need to redraw your diagram. I went and made copies of it so I'd have plenty, so I wouldn't have to draw it over and over and over. But if you have more than one that has the same diagram but uses different numbers, you may have to redraw. Okay. QTR is y. It says find the value of y so that PTR is a right angle. So what do we know about these two if they make a right angle? They equal 90 when they're what? Together. So how do we show in math that we're putting things together? We add, right? So 3y minus 10 plus y, that's this guy right here. 3y minus 10 plus y has to equal 90 degrees. Now we just solve it. So see how 3y and y are already on the same side of the equation? There's our equal sign right there. We just add them together. So 3y and y gives me 4y. So now what? So I'm going to add 10, right? And that's going to get me 4y equals 100. Then what? Divide by 4. And what is y? 25. Now, what was the question? Is the question find the value of y? Yeah, so we're done then. So y is 25, right? So that means this angle is 25. Could I find that angle right there? What would I do? So I could do either way. I could do 3 times 25 minus 10, or I could just do 90 minus 25. And I'm still going to get the same answer either way. Okay? Okay. Bottom part. So we've got so the directions here say determine whether each statement can be assumed from the figure and explain. So WZU is a right angle. Can you assume that from this diagram? How? Because of the square. The diagram indicates that's a right angle, so you can make that assumption. YZU, YZU, this guy right here, and UZV, this guy right here, right, are supplementary. Yes. How? How do you know that, though, from the diagram? That is not how. Being obtuse and acute do not make them equal 180.
Because if the square's there, then that makes the other side there.
That is true. If that would work if this was part of the one we're talking about, but it won't because it's not part of what we're talking about. Because they make a straight line angle. They make this angle YZV, and that's called a straight line angle. Okay, so straight line angle. All right, we got one more down here. What's his last one say? YZU, that's this guy, is adjacent to YZX. YZX. Is that guy? Okay. Is that true? Is that what that says? Oh my gosh. My bad. VZU. I need glasses. Are they adjacent? Huh?
No, they're not.
They're not adjacent. What does adjacent mean? They got to be sharing a wall, right? Are they sharing a wall? No. What are they, though? They are congruent because they are... I know you're saying it, Taylor. Say it louder. Vertical angles. I heard you, Esteban. Just because I don't call your name out don't mean I don't hear it. I heard you. You got credit. You take all the credit. Okay, let's jump back to 7 and 8 real quick and wrap them up, okay? Number 7 and number 8. So, y'all, number 7 and number 8 look real complicated, but they're really not, okay? So, number 7 says, find the measure of an angle and its complement. Now, what does complement mean? 90 degrees, right? So they add up to 90. If one angle measures 24 degrees more than the other. So we've got two angles. We've got angle 1 and we've got angle 2, and they add up to 90 degrees, right? Now, when it says if one angle measures 24 degrees more than the other, we're going to take one of them and call it x. And we're going to take the other one and call it x plus 24. Because they tell us one angle is 24 degrees more than the other. So if one of them is x, the other one has to be x plus 24. Y'all see how that works? If we add these together, what are we going to get? 90. Now, can we solve this? So that's going to be 2x plus 24 equals 90. Subtract the 24. What's 2x equals 76. Divide by 2, what's x? Y'all, I'm assuming Esteban's right. He could be completely wrong. I don't know. What's 76 divided by 2? 38? 38 degrees. That's assuming that 90 minus 24 really is 76. Okay, number 8. The measure of the supplement of an angle. Now, what does supplement mean? 180. So this is going to be two angles that add up to one angle. Huh? So we were wrong.
Yes.
Esteban was wrong. But the simple math being wrong doesn't change the way you solve the equation. So I didn't feel like that was right, but I was just going with it. That's embarrassing. Okay. Angle 1 and angle 2 is 180 degrees, right? Angle 1 and angle 2 is what supplementary means. Now let's look at what they say. They said that if the angle is 36 less than the measure of the angle. So one of them is going to be x. What's the other one going to be? X minus 36. Y'all see we're taking 36 out of that. If we add them together, we're going to get 180. So it's going to give me 2x minus 36. Okay. Now what is 180? We're going to add 36 this time. We're not subtracting it. We're adding it. That's going to give us 2x equals 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 216, right? We divide by 2. What's x this time? 108. So that's x. What's the other angle going to be? So we're going to take 108 and we're going to subtract 36. 8 minus 6 is 2. 10 minus 3 is 7. Oh, look, it's 72. This one really is 72. Okay, that's it for this. Your assignment. You don't have homework. Your assignment, practice side, all the problems. I don't have it online yet, but I will by the end of next hour. Okay, next hour is my conference, so I can get it on. Yes, sir. He is not here, Mr. Neely. He's been out for several days. You're welcome. Okay. I do not know. I haven't heard he was. You're welcome. Oh, I gotta start our video.